There's one course in northern Michigan that I really wanted to play, and there are a lot of reasons why. The course is named High Pointe, and it is one of the greatest courses in the United States. The front nine twists, tumbles, and turns, like many of the fine courses in Ireland. The backside works its way through the mountains, with elevated tee boxes and greens, and High Pointe plays host to some of the most beautiful views in Michigan. And another thing that sets it apart, it's Tom Doak'S first course. We learn about the beginnings of High Pointe and the rising star of Tom Doak.
Two things that I was trying to set out to do to set myself apart were, one, to get a reputation for working with good pieces of land. And this was a beautiful piece of land from the beginning. Part of it was in a cherry orchard, part back in some sandy, piney areas. So it's got a great variety to it, but it's got beautiful contour for golf where we didn't have to move much earth or do anything to build it. I ran the bulldozer and shaped all the greens here. Basically, I built this with one or two guys and a crew of laborers locally. And then the other thing is that, you know, my design philosophy goes back to building really good greens and having that control the interest of the golf course. And I still think this is one of the best sets of greens I ever built. This was the first green I built here. And my friends who are the real architecture critics and enthusiasts think this is the coolest one. So this is a long par 4. It's kind of hidden by a little shoulder of ground out there. So the green sits on a saddle, and the right half of the green just tilts up pretty dramatically. But the left half actually falls away, and there's a bunker behind it. So I was trying to get a green design that if you were playing toward the left half, there was some way to do it besides just aiming straight at the hole and having it kick through the green and go into the bunker. So all of a sudden one day I thought, well, if I made the bunker, if I extended the green onto the back and let the slope of the green go up the hill, then the bunker shot, instead of aiming toward the flag, he could play out that way and have the ball roll back to the hole. And then I thought, well, you could do that for the approach too. Instead of playing straight at it, you could hit it up there. And if you got it up there in just the right part, it would feed back to the hole. But what it wound up doing, there's a really severe slope from the right half to the left half down to where that hole is. And if you wind up here and have to putt straight at it, you know, even if I just get it over that hump, it's going 15 feet by the hole. May go off the green. That's the kind of thing that every golfer would tell me is unfair, and you can't have a green like that, even if you're trying not to leave it here. But the thing they don't know is there's another way to play this hole. Instead of hitting that putt there, I can hit it way up there.
That was great!
When we started, the front nine was through the orchard, and there were some little cherry trees here and there. Most of those have gone past their useful life and they're gone. And those little pines that we built out in the back are 20 years bigger now. And, you know, so there are pines between the holes where it used to be a little more open in between. The pines were all about that high when we built it. You know, this has been a family operation from the beginning, and Don Hayden Sr., who founded the golf course, I met through a couple of club pros that I knew up here. I'd been up to play Crystal Downs a couple times in the past, and I was good friends with the pro there. And Mr. Hayden was good friends with Doug Grove, who was a pro at Grand Traverse Resort just down the road. And Doug asked Fred for advice on trying to find an architect that didn't build the course across the street and yet wasn't charging $1 million fee. And Fred said, well, you know, I know a guy they should at least talk to. And I came up and interviewed for the job and just fell in love with the piece of ground, and, you know, told Mr. Hayden, you know, that I thought, having worked for Pete Dye for a few years, that I could design a decent golf course, but more importantly, that I was going to be really involved building it, and I could get it built for him. The funny thing is, I realized over the years that it probably wasn't the ideal course for Mr. Hayden's game. And because he was so hands-off on it, really, he was down in Detroit and only came up occasionally, he wasn't as involved with it as I would like clients to be. And I learned, you know, over time that, you know, if they're more involved and they really understand exactly why you've done everything, then when people you know, when a golfer makes a double bogey and says, oh, you should change that hole, they don't listen. But if they're not involved and they don't really understand why everything is the way it is, you do get the tendency to listen to what the next customer says, and that's a heck of a way to run a golf operation, because golfers all have opinions. But I've been here for 20 years since Mr. Hayden brought me here to build High Pointe, and I lived here for 2 years and kind of fell in love with the area and started a family here, and now they don't want to leave. So even though I travel thousands of miles out and back all the time, they're happy here all the time. This is a great place to live, especially in the summer. You know, in the winter, nobody's coming here for golf, so they don't care that it snows a lot.
When it's time to play golf in Traverse City, Michigan, there's one course you have to play. And that's High Pointe Golf Club, where a great golfing experience is guaranteed. A special place, a special course.
Thanks for coming up and seeing Northern Michigan.